Um, what's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome back. Sorry about the break. We've been having some things going on. This is episode 8 of the Born2BNerd Podcast. It's really cool to be back. I'm glad we're back talking to everybody.
Where are you filming right now? What state?
Yeah, I'm in Cleveland, and if there's a bit of an echo in here, I'm sorry. I'm in a hotel room with really high ceilings. Like, this is probably 12, 13 foot ceilings. Like, that's so high. Yeah, I'm in Cleveland for work right now, and so sorry it's taken so long to get another episode out. We both had some life things going on that have made things difficult to get up.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we despite everything we've been like dealing with in our personal lives as far as moving and work and stuff, is the fact that we've still made time to record.
Yeah,
is
we've been trying to, and like making time for it, and I think we're still technically we're still on track. Like, because we initially said we're gonna try for like one a month, like for sure. Mm-hmm. That was like the initial goal, and like if we can do more, then we'll do more. Yeah.
So are you wanting to do this in like seasons?
I don't know how. I mean, like technically, technically it's broken up right now when like the episodes are like the descriptions and stuff. It's like when you're uploading them, it's like one of the things that when it's broken down, it's in seasons. But like, I don't know. How do other podcasts usually do it?
Well, I mean, I think if it's has a theme, then it would have seasons. But ours just is like a open.
Yeah, we're not really
kind
going
of topic
on
of the podcast kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, what do you have on the itinerary today?
Well, I wanted to talk about something that you've been wanting to talk about for a while.
Yes, it's finally time, huh?
It's finally time. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-emphasis this. Huge spoiler warning for if you haven't seen the new Planet of the Apes, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Lots of
or any of its predecessors.
Yeah. Or I guess.
Because, it's all going to connect. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it opens with the ending of the previous series, the previous trilogy, with Caesar dying. So, again, spoiler warnings. You've been warned. I finally got to see the new Planet of the Apes movie, and
so we're going to talk about that. Don't even get started.
God is so good. We're going to talk about that.
If we have time after that. Actually, I don't want to say that because then we can.
Okay.
Like, if we don't, we can get to it next time.
Yeah.
But and then we had a change in seasons in the anime season. So
we did. Yeah.
The spring anime, right? Is it the spring this season that just ended, and now we're in the summer season?
Yeah. Yes, the summer, 2024.
Let me double check that. Yeah. And this past season was a big one, and then it seems like the train is still rolling into the next season. Is going to be a big one too.
Yeah. Did I tell you? I can't remember. Did I ask you about watching? Oh damn. The anime about the deaf girl who meets a really
a sign
of affection. Yeah. Did I talk to you about that?
You did something about it, but I don't remember what you said.
I think I just started watching it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, we'll get to that, and there's some things I want to bring up too that we can like go over real quick. But that's our itinerary for today. So if you're interested, sit back and enjoy the show. You know what you should start doing? Do you put like we should start doing not trailers, but kind of like
previews,
kind of like previews or whatever on YouTube
before the episode. Oh, on YouTube. Yeah, I mean that's
like saying like coming this week, like you know, Planet of the Apes and this and that.
I mean, also with this, what this platform also like aids itself to is doing like shorts, like short reels and loading that up and making little trailers for it too.
Yeah, I mean, if you get any good reels, like if you notice any, you should send them to me and I can post them on like TikTok and stuff as like little shorts.
Okay. Cool. Well, we want to get started?
All right. Yeah, let's get started.
All right. Okay. All right. So, Planet of the Apes.
Yes. It's about time.
Good God. I've been trying, dude. My first and foremost, because it was one of my favorite series like ever, was to see the new Mad Max, and I got to see that. Yeah. And so then the next like 2 weeks I was trying to go watch Planet of the Apes, and we would have to work one weekend, and then it didn't happen, and then I was going to go on like a Thursday because we were getting off early. That we got fucked over and had to work late, so I didn't get to see it again. But I got to go see it when I was in Atlanta, when I was back home for the week. And I want to this is a little story that happened while I was in it that I'll tell you guys about. It confirmed like why going to see movies in theaters is so important, and how it's so drastically different than just watching something on your tablet or even on your TV. Like, it's a totally different experience. And it's like what I think about when I think about like my childhood and like growing up and experiencing some of these moments that I had in my life that were all in a freaking theater, but we'll get into that later. It's so good. For the short and sweet of it, God, it's good. Like I was, you were like hyping it up, and I was like, I hope it is. Like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to, I don't want to be that guy. While you're hype training, I'm just like, well, if you want my personal opinion, that was subpar. No, it's great. It's so good.
Yeah. It felt like, I don't know. It felt like a very different movie than I feel like I've seen in a while. Like, it had like a tone that it sparked thoughts that I like movies haven't done for me in a while.
No.
And also kind of continuing from a trilogy that seemed like it was done.
It was like done. It was like concluded and a perfect bookend. Yeah.
Right. It seems like they were able to open that door back up or open that book back up really well, and it was really exciting. And not only to mention that, but like I said, whenever I saw the movie, I was like, people are like, Lord of the Rings fans, Star Wars fans, whatever, these big long running series. And yes, the Ape series doesn't quite have like the lore depth that like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings may have, but I honestly think I can say that this is probably my favorite,
like sci-fi
saga.
Yeah, saga.
Would you call it a saga at this point?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that I can keep up with the conversation, because it's been a while since I last saw it, and I had all these thoughts and stuff, and now I'm hoping that I can kind of remember all the things that made an impact on me. But tell me, like, what I want to know is, after watching the original trilogy and going into the theater and watching the story, what were your first thoughts as you started watching it? And again, this is going to be just open discussion about the new movie and the previous movies. So if you haven't seen them, you're not going to know what's going on. If you haven't,
it's going to ruin one of the best trilogies. Well, one of the best series, not even trilogies anymore. One of the best series that have come out in probably the last 20 years. Like,
would you call the Ape saga underrated or underexposed?
No, it's underrated. Yeah. It's underrated and it's underexposed because here's why. It came about when that trilogy was coming out, when Dawn or Rise came out. I can't remember which one it was. Dawn came out in a time where everything was like this. Everything was a prepositional phrase title, and it was all like Dawn or Rise of. Like, you had Dawn of Justice, you had all these different titles that were like the same, and they all came out at the same time. Like, it was 2014, 2015, 2016. And then you had the return of Star Wars in that time too, right? And you had Star Trek going on, and you had all these Disney franchises being boomed out again. All the Marvel stuff was in full swing. That's what it was. It was everything was Dawn, Age, Rise of something. And I think what happened is you had all these massive movies from these super well-known franchises, like tried and true. It's gonna make $1 billion, you know. And then you had the Apes series, right? You had the Apes saga, which they made money, but they didn't make the kind of money that the Marvel movies were making at the time, or like the Star Wars when it came out. Star Wars, it crossed $1 billion. The episode 7 crossed $1 billion really fast.
Yeah. Right. And also not only that, but people were watching these trailers and thinking about the Mark Wahlberg film and the original saga, you know,
and it's nothing like that at all.
No.
But so I remember that summer, the summer of 15, it was the big 3. So the big 3 that year was supposed to be, it was supposed to be Avengers: Age of Ultron, Justice League: Dawn of Justice, and it was supposed to be Star Wars, Force Awakens. That was the big summer movies, right? Along with that was also supposed to be, I think, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And it just got totally buried. Now, what ended up happening is only one of those movies came out in the summer. Age of Ultron was the only one that came out. The other ones got pushed back. Star Wars got pushed back to Christmas, and then it kept that Christmas slot for every, because they were like, oh, geez, we can own this whole month.
Christmas,
we can own this whole month. So that's what Star Wars ended up doing. But that was supposed to be the summer of the big 3, and it just got buried in all the hoopla around the other 3. But it's this. But I thought it was done, and it's one of those that when it ended with Caesar's story, you were like, I'm so good. Like I feel content. Like, would I like to see more of this world? Yeah, obviously, but like it was so perfectly bookended. I felt this emotional completion, to it, that when they announced the new one, and I don't know why, dude, like none of the trailers did it for me for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And I think it was because also some of the trailers I saw early on for it, the rendering wasn't done. You could tell
the rendering wasn't done. Yeah,
it wasn't done at all. And I saw it and I was like, oh man, they cut the budget in half on this thing.
And I'll tell you another thing that really bugged me in the trailers that made me not really super excited to see it was the movement of the mocap.
Yeah.
Such as like, and this is actually kind of one of my main points of the discussion is how like the apes or the people using mocap moved as apes in the trailer, and how they spoke, how their facial expressions seem to be more, I'm gonna say human, than they had been in the past, where it was like almost reminiscent of the Mark Wahlberg film, where there's just a little bit of makeup on the face, but
but they're still everything else was human.
Mostly everything was human except for a little bit of like extra lip and a nose, So that was like kind of almost like that little uncanny vibe / like a little uncomfortable that kind of put me down to like kind of wanting to see it. But yeah, so it didn't quite, like the trailers didn't quite sell it, but obviously we loved the trailers, so we decided to give it a shot. And so you watched the original trilogy. Obviously, it was amazing. It's a phenomenal trilogy. And then you finally were able to go see it the other day. What did you think? Like you go in and what happens? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, the very first scene. So here's what happened. I go in and it was me. It was on like a Tuesday in the afternoon. It was fucking beautiful. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon. It was great. It was me and one little family. It was a grandma, her daughter, and then her 2 kids, these 2 little girls. And we were the only people in the theater. And we're sitting there, and from literally the first scene when they're doing the climb, trying to get the eggs, the first big jump they did going through. Well, then I didn't realize that there were buildings at first, and then when it like cuts, and I'm like, oh, this is just like everything's been retaken by nature. Like that's to show the time that's passed and like all this stuff.
Yeah, and hundreds of years,
and I'm like, oh shit, that very first jump where I forget the other ape, Noah and Suna, and I forget the third, their friend,
his buddy. Yeah, I can't remember his name.
That first one where it almost looked like he's not going to make it. That first jump, I was in.
Yeah,
I was in, like totally in, and then the score happens, and I was like, I was like, and I was sucked in. Like, and that's what I've talked about before. Is like so much of a lot of media now that we consume, whether it's television or even movies, I don't get that anymore. Like, I don't get that full where I'm just like, I'm not in a theater, I'm not on my couch, I'm not anywhere. I'm in that world, and that sequence immediately sucked me into that world. Yeah, which is what I expect and like want out of a series like this, especially. So, that started at first, but what I didn't expect was to be sucked into the world, but then immediately talk. I don't know what it is about these fucking apes. Whenever there's like emotional connections between them, like when they get back from their eagles, and he meets his mom, he's talking to his mom, and they do like the forehead to forehead thing. Dude, yeah. I was just like, oh God, already got me, Jesus Christ. It just immediately, man, just was pulling on all my heartstrings. And I was like, I need this mom ape not to die, please. Yeah. And they hit on all fronts, dude. As far as like pulling me in, getting me emotionally attached, everything, like the soundscape of like the creaking of like the metal buildings and everything as they're jumping and going down. They even hit like funny little emotional beats. Like when like he's trying to get the second nest, he sees the second nest and he's trying to go up there and get it, and he starts going off, and sliding off, and he's because we didn't know the apes. Like, we don't know those apes, Right. And so he goes off after he's trying to get that third egg, and he slides off, and I was like, damn, this is starting off dark. And then he's like, he's caught himself by his little foot. And the other apes, it's the other thing that I was wanting to talk about. They do such a good job in this series of making the apes other and advanced, but also keeping their reactions and their like primal animalistic like group mob. Like when you hear like apes or monkeys start howling and stuff together in like a zoo, the way that it like picks up and like and they start like all of them start coming in together, they do that so good in this series. And like that's what, like, whenever like a reaction would happen, right? Like something would happen and then the apes would react, but they would react in waves, like
right
how they do. And they did such a good job, and the series has always done that. But they did such a good job at like marrying the advanced quality of ape, this version of it, what an ape is, to that primal animalistic evolutionary things that are still in them, that oh dude, it's just it was like a masterclass in like how to set up a world again.
Right.
I don't know. I loved it. I absolutely loved that.
So here's another question. We get a huge time jump that results in not only civilization developments, but biological evolutions as well.
In the humans you're talking about?
In the apes.
Or just because they're all able to speak?
Well, not only do they speak more clearly now, right? They still like have the ingrained sign language use, but they do talk a little bit more clearly. If you watch, like watching the original trilogy, you can see Caesar start to develop a little bit clearer speech throughout the movies.
Yeah.
So the first one, it's a couple syllables or a couple phrases here and there. Second one, he says a couple full sentences, but they're very gravelly, very like low, and like kind of pushes them out with air. Yeah. And then in the third movie, like he straight up like uses full sentences. Yeah. Like, we did not start this war. And you're just like, whoa. And you're like, and then 300 years later, they're actually talking full sentences, like very like easy breath. It's coming very naturally. And so it's just something to think about, like the biology, like talking about the trailer. That was one thing that was made clear in the movie was, the trailer made them, I didn't like how they were moving. I didn't like how they were talking very clearly. I thought it was bad mocap, like less, like that less care was put into the mocap.
Yeah.
But then you watch the movie and it's like 300 years has passed. And in the original trilogy, Caesar evolved in like, what was it? Like maybe 10 years?
Yeah. 20
maybe
years is pushing it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very like I think between the first and second movie was 3 years, right? Because
I can't remember.
Because Maurice says he's like three lunar cycles or for whatever he says, whatever he says, that's like shows it's been 3 years, 3 winters. That's what he says, 3 winters.
Yeah.
And so much has changed. And then, obviously 300 years is a long time with these apes that have had this virus or whatever that increases evolution speeds by astronomical numbers.
Right.
And so whenever they start, Noah, his like shoulders sit like more like further back and more kind of straight rather than hunched like an ape's. He kind of like his like spine is more elongated than an ape, or before. Yeah, and so the more human movements make sense. And I'm like, they're actually more evolved. The speech is like easier. Their faces are a little bit more shallow.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the big old ape jaws like, in the original films. Like they've shallowed, they've like decreased their intensity so that they can make speech easier.
But then also at the same time, like I was just talking about it with my buddy Kevin today because he saw it and he was like blown away by it. They still do some of those movements. Like when they point, they'll do the limp thing, where they're not actually pointing, like we do.
Right.
They're like just moving their hand, like in that way, or like they do like the what's it called? Is it called slackjaw? Where they're like they're who was their orangutan in this one?
Yeah, I forget his name.
I forget his name too, but he has that like slackjaw thing where his lips are always like, and I'm like, how much of like. I don't know. I was like, how much of that is like the actor actually?
Raka?
Raka? Is his name Raka?
Yeah, Raka the orangutan.
Yeah. Where, like, how much of that is him keeping his jaw forward and like trying to, or how much of it is the actual the CG, the makeup artist? It's just it blew me away though. It was so good.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is that. Clearly, they're not evolving into humans.
No, it's its own separate branch of evolution.
So, they're almost starting to become, like, I would say closer to, like, Neanderthal kind of features. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. I really, liked that.
Well, that was the only thing, too. So, like, I get that so there were some things that that they're not cons. They're just like things that weren't really explained. Mm-hmm. Was like, so like you had the evolution of the apes into what they are now and the de-evolution of humans, right? But it's like such a drastic, stark difference in the humans because like all the apes that you see are all kind of on the same level. Like some of them, their sense of society is a little different, but like they're all like their intelligence is kind of sort of all the same.
Yeah, it's kind of reached to like a commonality kind of thing.
Yeah, but the humans are like when we see May is that her name?
I can't remember.
Siri from
Siri.
Siri. I'm gonna call her Siri for the rest of this.
I can find it. It's May. You're right.
Whenever she sees the humans for the first time, they're all like, I mean, they're beasts. Like that's what they, they're so different. And you're like, oh, like she is legitimately her and William H. Macy. Like they are just like very special humans because this is what they've reverted to. They've reverted to this like animalistic, version of a human being, whereas they're like still May and William H. Macy, they're still fully functioning humans. Like they're like what we are, now. That's something that I didn't really think that they explained really well, was like how there was such a drastic difference in the two different versions of humans, other than the fact that like, because also later on we find out there are many more humans, like whole human colonies and settlements, that are like the smart ones. So they never really gave me enough of an explanation of how or why there is that drastic divide in humans' intelligence.
Wouldn't you say that that's
echoes is what they call them? Echoes. Sorry.
Yeah. Couldn't you say that the ones that are kind of more animalistic and less sentient, or whatever you want to call it, those are the ones that were afflicted by the virus's effects, right? Of kind of decreasing their mental capacities and things like that. But then there are also humans that were immune to the virus.
I mean, but they never go into that. That was my only complaint of it. Like they never
I guess we're supposed to understand from based on the previous trilogy that there were two types of humans. There are the ones that were like being shot because they were losing their speech and things like that, and the ones that were, separated from that group that had built-in immunities.
Yeah, no, and so it makes.
Yeah, and if you have like Nova, right? Nova from the original trilogy, which don't they call all like
they call all humans that can speak Novas. All special ones Novas. Yeah,
right. But like Nova in the original trilogy, she was like basically fine, except for the fact that she had lost her ability to speak.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just like we had to kind of understand that in 300 years, apes had evolved to like a very high level, that those afflicted by the virus, the humans that have been afflicted by the virus, had also changed drastically over the last 300 years, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, again, I get it. It's just, I feel like they didn't go into explaining it enough, as opposed to how far they went into explaining and readdressing and bringing it up over and over again, how the apes had developed.
Right.
I thought it was just a little stark difference. But again, it is it's the apes movie, it's not the humans movie, so I guess it makes sense. There was, so I was talking a little bit earlier about like the theatrical experience and why like this type of movie does what I love about cinema and what I miss about cinema, and I don't get to experience much anymore, is that it totally like brings you into that world, right? And so while we're watching it, whenever they're crossing the bridge, the scene where they're crossing the bridge and they get cornered, and Siri falls in the water, and what's his name again? Raka goes in after. Raka.
Yeah.
Whenever he goes in after, the music is building, the tension's building, the sound of the water is literally building in the scene. And when he saves her, and then the gorilla, he cuts the rope, and Raka goes off, and dies in the water. When that happened, one of the little girls in the audience goes, "No!" and screams out, dude. And it was and like the grandma was like, "Shh," and it was so sweet and beautiful. And like that kid made like some kind of maybe a fucked up core memory, but like that movie is going to have this lasting impact and effect on that kid's life. And like, I know that like having that happen is going to forever be in the back of her mind when she's watching other films. You know what I mean? Like she's going to remember that. And like, I don't think enough movies do that anymore, to where
How old was she?
Maybe 8 or 9, somewhere in there.
I wonder if they had watched the other ones as well, or if they were just kind of like a one-off.
Yeah, a one-off. I don't know. But like the way but like what she did was what I was feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it was beautiful. It was such a like magical magical happenstance that like happens that cinema can make happen to this day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's just I hate that I don't get to see it as much. Also because like people don't go to the movies as much.
Yeah. And I mean, it's harder to find, like, a lot of theaters have been shut down, so it's harder to get those openings.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about cinema, but I want to talk about the Apes movie more.
Okay. Yeah. So
characters.
Noah. Okay. So side note about the characters. I don't know if you caught it. The first word that we hear May say. Did you catch the thing with her and Caesar?
I don't know.
So in the first movie, the first word that Caesar says is no.
No, yeah.
When the ape's getting beat, he's like, no! Like, you know? The first thing that she says is like, you could tell it was like the same kind of no, but it was Noah. Yeah. But it was, I think that was very intentional of like drawing that parallel between her and Caesar. I don't know. I just saw that and I thought it was really cool. The characters, so
Noah is the protagonist.
No, oh yeah, sorry. For anyone listening that hasn't seen it, I don't know why the hell you're listening to this if you haven't seen it. But yeah, so Noah is the protagonist, and he's like, he's the son of I guess he's the chief. His dad's one of the elders, and he's the bird keeper. He's the eagle master of that village. He's like the new main character, and he's got similarities to Caesar, but he doesn't even know who Caesar is, like in the movie until he meets Raka. And I really liked how he's similar in that kind of like a main character that we've kind of seen before, but he is, they do a good job emotionally with him that sets him apart from the other characters and other protagonists that we've seen before. He's also kind of like, he's almost our gaze into the film, like into that world, because as he's discovering things, we are also discovering things.
Right, because he's also kind of sheltered. Yeah. Like he's sheltered within his own village kind of thing. He's clearly a kid, right? Like they're young, like him and his crew.
Yeah,
like
they're doing their coming of age
teens,
ceremony.
Basically. Yeah, they're basically teens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think if I had to guess, he's probably the same age that Caesar was in the second
one.
Or no, I'm sorry, the first film, whenever he like snaps at the dog, right? Whenever he's like starts to question like, where am I from? Like, what am I a pet kind of thing? Yeah, I think he was in his teens then too.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's like young, which is different. Following like we followed Caesar from like a childhood, but whenever he took kind of his role as a leader, he was an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I liked his character. I thought that his like relationship and antagonistic relationship with May as it goes, and I mean even to the end, like literally until the last time they see each other, is it's not like it's a respect, but it's not like a friendship. Like it's very antagonistic, and they maintain that through the whole movie because ultimately she does like kind of she betrays him. She doesn't do what he thinks they're doing, and at the end she blows the fucking dam, with all of them there. And he's, so it kind of like it. I mean, I guess had they said, I mean, I assume they are, that they're going to keep going with the saga.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. They have. All right.
It's going to be apparently it's going to be a 9-movie saga.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's what I've heard. So we're getting...
Including the ones that have already been done?
Yeah, so it's the Caesar's arc, and then Noah's arc, I guess, is going to be these 3, and then who knows what the last 3 are going to be. Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that whole like relationship with them. I also, the relationship between him and Suna, I didn't think that they like... I think that they showed enough of it to where I was satisfied and like we got the point, but it wasn't like, I didn't think that there needed to be like this super heavy pressure on that relationship, which maybe in the next one, if they have a kid and they have a family, then that family dynamic changes things and she becomes more of like, not relevant, might not be the right word, but like prominent, like that relationship takes, it takes the front line of the film.
Yeah.
I tell you the two characters that I like maybe the most. Their friend, the third ape, and him. What the hell is his name? I'm blanking on his name. It's he always refers to himself as his name. He is the one that I think I had the most.
Anaya.
Anaya. Yeah. Anaya. He's the one that I had the most emotional attachment and reaction to because they were always kind of like teasing him, like Anaya was scared, blah 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 blah, and then like he was scared, like the whole movie he's scared to do something else. Each time he kind of perseveres, like through whatever he's doing. When he goes to the egg, when he saves Noah in that when their village is getting attacked briefly, and then he gets a shit beat out of him, and then when we first see him again in Proximus Caesar's little meeting room, and he's this little jester servant dude, and he's so beaten. You see him; he's so like his shoulders are hunched. He's in this like very sad, like servant like manner. And you see his face like when he sees Noah at the table, and it's just like, God, man. But the scene when they're hatching their plan to like blow up the dam, and they're like, we need you, Anaya. Like, we need you with us. It's us three, And he's just like, Anaya you're like, you were right. Anaya is afraid. And he just like curls up. Dude, I'm like getting misty right now thinking about it. When he curls up and just like can't. Oh, God, that shit killed me, dude.
I'll tell you, one of the most interesting things about like in the film was that actual like that kind of spot in the film where he shows up and he's like, you can't do it without me.
I know,
and that's me and my brother were like, me and my brother were like, he's gonna betray them.
I know. I thought that too.
He's too scared.
Yeah,
like he's only joined it. He was too afraid, and he went and told Proximus or somebody. And no. He was real. He
did it.
I will say though, I don't think, in my opinion, I feel like they could have done a better job at helping us see how he worked rather than like, because it was a little confusing. It was like, like in the beginning is like, I was like, is Anaya one of their friends, or do they just like, are they colleagues that tease each other and they're like rivals? And then whenever he sees him again, I was like, is this guy a good guy, or is he like kind of like a sleazebag?
Yeah.
And then whenever he actually does kind of commit and like shows up for his friends, you're like, I mean, that's really cool, but I wish we could have seen like his arc, I think
more than
growth.
Likely there's probably a deleted scene that shows that friendship more, that shows like that more defines the actual roles that like what they are.
That's kind of brings me to like one of the biggest concepts of the comparisons between the previous trilogy and this new film that I wanted to get your opinion on is the differences in the like gravity of the squad, right? Because in the original trilogy, you have Rocket, Maurice, Caesar, and then like they had Kobo kind of in the first one, but not really. The squad from day one was like Rocket, Maurice, and they had different gorillas with them throughout the three films, but it was like the squad, like these ride or dies. Like Rocket is like known as like that's Caesar's ride or die. Like anytime anyone tried to step up to Caesar, he's like, hey, I'm loyal to Caesar. Like whatever he says, I go for. And like, whenever Caesar decides to like leave the group to go pursue revenge, even after like his squad, Maurice and Rocket said, you're not that guy. Like, revenge isn't the answer. We need to take care of our crowd, our herd and everything. They're like,
our troop.
All right, if you're going, we're going too.
Yeah.
Someone's got to keep you alive. Someone's got to make sure you get back home. And it's just like that, like ride or die, that squad that throughout that original trilogy, I mean, we know Rocket, we know Maurice, we know Caesar. Like that squad has you can't really picture one without the others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the original or this new film, Kingdom, I didn't really feel that sense of squad.
Well, no, like, but also
they're kind of separated. Obviously,
they are. I mean, they're literally separated. The majority of the movie, but also he isn't like that Caesar role yet. Like they are, because they are just children, basically,
right?
And I mean, they don't have that. They don't have that sense of like mortality put in them yet. Until the village gets sacked, but like they don't have that sense of mortality and consequence that the older apes in the previous trilogy do. I think that probably has something to do with it, but also it's the first movie, and I just don't think that they.
I mean, that's true. It's just, in my opinion, in the first movie, Caesar was able to make this stand as the leader from the get-go, right? As soon as he was put into the sanctuary or whatever you want to call it, and he met Maurice and he met Rocket, like he established his role as their leader and like was able to show them like care and respect that they hadn't received before, that allowed them to say, oh no, he's our guy. Like we follow him to the death kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you could say that throughout the original trilogy, that the reason this sense of community was built around Caesar so hard was because it was them against the world. And now it's more of like the world is theirs. So it's not really them against the world. So it's harder to build that kind of community, that kind of like, dynamic. But I'm curious to see what they do to Noah to help him kind of develop as the protagonist, as like someone we want to see in the next film,
Yeah.
Because he was intelligent. He was known for his intelligence. He was very crafty, very clever ape,
Clever, yeah.
And he had somewhat of a sense of justice, but not quite as heavy as Caesar's was. Caesar's sense of justice was just through the roof,
Yeah.
And Noah's more flawed, and that's perfectly fine. I'm curious to see what they do to help us kind of get behind Noah as our new kind of, protagonist, hero, leader.
I think it's going to be that literal, like, and the boy becomes the man type of thing. Like right now in this first movie, he literally doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what he wants.
Right.
He even like, there's the whole thing about like, he wants the eagle, like he wants his eagle, but he's also like, he's talking to, what's his name again? Raka. And he's talking about whistling. They're like, how do you command the eagles? And he's like, we sing to them. And he's like, I would like to hear that. And he's like, my father would sing to him. I'm not my father. And he's like, literally got this like personal dilemma of like trying to figure out who the fuck he is. This whole movie. So, I mean, maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why.
Right. Yeah. Now let's go on to the big boy, Proximus. What do you think about Proximus?
Okay, first, I forget his name. The guy that plays Proximus,
I can tell you.
I fucking
Kevin Durant.
Yes, Durant. Dude, shut up. What's his name?
Kevin Durant.
No, Kevin Durant's a basketball player.
Dude, his name is Kevin. I'm looking at the IMDb right now. Kevin Durant. Proximus Caesar.
Are you lying to me right now?
Ethan, I'm looking at it right here.
Big white guy.
I'll show you a picture.
Like weird jaw. Has a weird jaw. All right, fine. You're not lying.
Kevin Durant.
Isn't Kevin Durant a basketball player for the Celtics or something?
Maybe.
Anyway.
But so is this guy.
I love him. Anything that he's ever in, he elevates the scene. He elevates everyone around him. He's such a good character actor. If no one listening to this has ever seen 3:10 to Yuma, go watch 3:10 to Yuma, fuck what you heard, and watch it right now. The 2007 version with, listen to this, Christian Bale, Russell Crowe, Kevin Durant, a young Logan Lerman. You've got Ben Foster, who acts his fucking ass off, dog.
Dude, Ben
Charlie
Foster
Prince.
Is so good.
He's so amazing. Like, you're talking about these dudes in a movie with Russell Crowe and Christian Bale, and he outacts both of them. Like, come the fuck on. But back to Kevin Durant, his role in that movie as the asshole dude who's with the posse. You're gonna hang me in the morning. His whole life. I say this all the time, where he goes, "You don't shit, you don't piss, hell, you don't breathe. Let's I goddamn say so." Like, I say that all the time because of him, dude. He's such a good actor, and I don't see him in a lot of stuff anymore. So when I saw that he was in this, I was super stoked. He's such a good, and he's a very physical actor too. He's such a good choice as the big, the big ape who, he is this dominating force, but he thinks he's so much more intelligent than he actually is. You know?
I mean, he was really clever.
No, he was clever, and he was trying to learn the whole time. He was trying to learn, but he was also trying to learn, and he was doing that thing that people do, where they'll use big words to try to sound intelligent, but they really they're really not. You know, he would say these words and be like, he would come over to, there's that one point where he comes over to Noah. Every time he would come up to Noah, he would kind of nudge his shoulder and be like, we're you and me, we're alike. Same clever ape. You know? He was so great, man. I loved it.
I really don't want him to be dead, to be honest.
I mean, I hope that he is, because I like it when I like the finality and the gravitas of killing a character on screen and having them be dead.
Yeah.
I think leaving the whole we're just kidding, we didn't show it on screen, so it didn't happen, I think that's cheap, and it's a cop-out at this point. I hope that he is, even though I loved him as Proximus and I love him as an actor.
Just imagine Proximus going through a development.
As a cyborg ape?
No, I was going to say coming back as he learned that, it's hard to remember how the movie ended. I'm trying to think of how the movie ended, but basically he learned that ultimate power doesn't mean ultimate control.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I want him, he had saw a lot of potential in Noah, and I would kind of like to see him come back,
do
as a follower of Noah.
Yeah.
Just be because he's so smart. He has so much to offer, to be honest. And he would make a great squad member to Noah. We need those strong characters that stand by Noah, that whenever we think about, my brother's been rewatching Game of Thrones. And Jon Snow reminds me of Noah, right? Where he was this kid, he joined the North. He's doesn't know what he wants to be. He doesn't know what he wants to do. All he knows is that he just wants to be of use somewhere, be important, be kind of matter somewhere.
Yeah.
And he finds that in the North. And along the way, he's put in these positions. Yeah. Along the way, he's put in this position where he's constantly being challenged by these epic, big personality, big strengths, very intelligent or whatever, high class warriors or whatever. And he wins them over to where they follow him.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, or they try to kill him.
I mean, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He either beats them or he makes them his followers. Or he makes
them so angry, that they know that he's right, even though that they,
But what I'm getting at is that by the end of the series, we have seen how Jon Snow has gained the respect of all these very high class people that we thought were going to be the bad guy or thought were going to be his adversary. And by the end of it, they're following him. They love him, Yeah. And I think it could be cool to see Noah kind of go through the same journey where he's young and he's smart, and he's running into these challenges, he's making allies, he's making, friends, and he's taking on these challenges and coming out victorious. And I would rather not see him just beat everybody or like cast the obstacles out of the way, like Proximus kind of thing, where like Proximus was his biggest obstacle and he cast him off a cliff basically. Mm-hmm. And which is fine. If that's the only way to get rid of that obstacle, I get it. But I think with Caesar, right, if we go back, Caesar had that with Rocket. Rocket was like the big, king at this little ape prison, ape sanctuary, whatever you want to call it. And Caesar said, nope. And he challenged him in the courtyard and he beat him. And then from then on, he immediately went to help Rocket gain intelligence, gain freedom. And Rocket was like, oh, you're my dude, like I'm with you. And that was really cool to see. He didn't just beat Rocket and the next thing you know, like Rocket's nowhere to be found. Like he beat Rocket and then Rocket became his number one follower, Yeah. And I think that was really powerful. And it spoke a lot about Caesar and about the story itself, where like no one has to be just evil or just good,
Yeah.
And I would like to see that in this trilogy as well. And I think Proximus, like in my opinion, I love that actor. He did so good as Proximus. Mm-hmm. And I think Proximus is such a great dynamic character that I would kind of like to see him again. But who knows who we'll see in the next film that kind of gives us that level of personality.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all right, fine. You changed my mind. No, I would like to see him. I would like to see him again because I love him as an actor. I love what he did with the character. It's just, I don't know. I think we've seen this, like, if you're going to kill somebody, just fucking kill somebody. Like, I actually just saw this on one of the newer episodes of House of the Dragon where someone is supposedly dead, and then they're like literally 5 seconds later in the preview for the next episode, they show that they are probably not dead, and it's like, come on, man. So that kind of thing just kind of, I don't really like it.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just like, we're talking about how big of an impact the original trilogy made on us, and what this new movie is going to do to like extend that saga, that story, that legacy. And so when you're talking about on-screen deaths, like the Dawn Rise War, they did that very well, where the at the end of the first movie, I forget that gorilla's name that he saves from the single cage in the sanctuary, literally sacrifices himself to save Caesar from the helicopter at the end.
Yeah.
And then we had like he's the first one of Caesar's crew to die,
Yeah.
And that was really powerful. And then that continues on in the second and third movie where like Caesar loses people and we watch Caesar lose them, or the adversaries that die along the way, whether it's like Koba or like in the second one, it's like we watch Caesar beat Koba. Yeah. We watch Caesar we watch the leader of the humans, like sacrifice himself to like try to win the war or whatever. And I would like to have that same level of gravity in this new saga or series.
I think we definitely can. Did you see? I didn't look to see who the writers were. Is it the same writers as the previous trilogy?
That's a good question. Let me see if I can find that.
And I just asked that because they did so many of the same. Not that they were like copy and pasting or anything, but they were able to navigate those waters very similarly, like with the previous trilogy.
Well, while I'm looking this up, tell me your opinions on this. In the next film, or in the next like part. So we know that at the end of this movie, they made their way into the bunker, right?
Yep.
It was flooded.
Mm-hmm.
How much technology do you think is safe? And how much of that technology do you think the apes will get their hands on?
I think a lot of the weapons are going to be able to get their hands on.
Well, they also had like language learning books and stuff. Remember?
Yeah.
So that's you have these apes learn how to read. Then they're reading textbooks. They're reading history books. They're reading Art of War. They're reading like blueprints to cities. They're reading like, how to make energy, how to make power, how to make, how to build weapons, how to build like infrastructure and all these other things, plumbing and all this. What do you think is coming in this saga?
I don't know that I don't think we get that far in this saga. I think they probably get like weapon advancement. Maybe they get power. Like maybe they understand power. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's just food for thought, basically.
I mean, if you think about the human race and in the past 100 years, how much that has snowballed.
Right.
I guess it's really not that hard to speculate that they could actually advance pretty freaking far because,
Yeah. Before I continue with that statement, the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was written by Joshua. Where'd it go? I just lost it. I had it.
Jackson.
Josh Friedman.
Oh,
who wrote? Yeah. Who wrote War of the Planet of the Apes?
Okay.
He wrote. Wait. Sorry, I missed that. That's wrong. He didn't write War of the Planet of the Apes. He wrote Terminator: Dark Fate, Black Dahlia, Avatar: The Way of the Water. Yeah,
that's a good.
So he didn't write the others.
Okay. Well, I mean, whoever, they did a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Is he going to write the next two though? That's the question.
Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, my thing of the bunker is their goal was to ruin the bunker, right? To flood it and destroy all of those weapons, all of that technology.
Yeah.
So the question is, did that happen? Was that successful? Like, obviously, they did blow up the bunker. They did flood it. How much was actually destroyed, though? And how much will be recoverable once those waters recede a little bit? Yeah. Or are they going to abandon the bunker altogether and just continue on with their life in the wilderness as a small tribe,
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I mean, also, we don't know how many of the apes
stayed behind
or how many of the apes got killed. Like we saw that group with Noah at the top, but we don't know how many of the other ones actually died.
It looked like they were able to evacuate a ton of them.
Yeah. So
like it looks like a lot were saved, but
who knows if there's going to be like a pseudo Proximus or something in the next one or whatever.
Yeah, I'm just curious on like they made like a point to show when they were in that room, they found that book that teaches how to read, So I'm curious on if that's the next step is Raka knew how to read and he was reading like all these old history books on Caesar and like all these texts about human. Was the textbooks about Caesar or was it just texts about
they were just
history
text.
and
they
stuff?
were like encyclopedias and stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see if we pick up and apes have learned how to read and they're reading human like transcripts and human research.
Yeah. I mean, it's very possible.
Yeah. So good though. So much potential.
Yeah. I mean, if like you haven't gotten that how much we liked it and everything yet, if I could say it again, go see the fucking movie. Like it's so good. It's
very well done.
Yeah. Very pleasantly surprised, but very happily surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't watched a movie in a long time that made me want to talk about it that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, there are some things like they reuse some things that I've seen before, like certain beats that I've seen before to progress the story, or even like action sequences, like the sequence when it's flooding and Noah is being chased by the Proximus dude, the big gorilla.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've seen that exact thing. I can't remember where it is, where they're chasing him somewhere. They're trying to get in a smaller area. Bigger guy can't get there. He finally gets through, and then he escapes up, and that guy's trapped there, and he literally drowns to death. Like I can't remember what that's from, but I've seen that exact sequence somewhere.
Yeah,
before.
I feel like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I did respect that moment in the movie because if you think about it, like the way to like beat him was to put him in a cage.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting. Like he like slowly leads him through the pipes, and then next thing you know, it looks like the gorilla from the first film, like just trapped in this small cage.
It's exactly. It's him utilizing his intelligence to navigate this situation in this round versus the gorilla who's literally just brute forcing his way through everything like a gorilla.
Yeah. I just thought it was very interesting how they like styled it to look like a cage. Like it actually looks just like an old ape cage. It's very interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I totally get that. Like I said, I don't think it was a perfect film, and I don't think it was the plot. Like I had some issues with the plot, and I had some issues with the characters, and it felt shallow sometimes. But more than anything, it did something with the art form and the world that was very exciting. And that's what really captivated me. And the actors all did fantastic, really.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. That was an hour.
Was it? Hey, I told you it's
that's good. That was really good.
You can make that its own video if you want.
I mean, it totally could.
Or its own podcast.
Yeah.
Episode, whatever. Actually, real quick, there is something I want to talk about, and it's about the cinema experience. You were talking about how like cinema or like watching movies in theaters is important. It reminded me of whenever we went and saw the My Hero Academia third film in theaters. Not the best movie. It's okay. But we went and saw it in theaters, and then when we sat down and it started playing, we realized that it was actually accidentally the dubbed movie. And we were super bummed. And we were like, do we just walk out? We're like, we already bought the tickets. Might as well. We're just going to have to watch it, you know? But that was one of the most fun movie experiences I've had watching in the theaters because the entire theater was full. I mean, we were like shoulder to shoulder with people. It was a packed theater, which is so strange to watch a My Hero Academia movie, but it was packed.
Yeah.
And there was so much hype. Like everyone was like screaming and yelling and laughing and like engaged in the movie the whole time.
Yeah.
And like there were these moments where we're all like, oh my God. And it was just, it felt like a celebration of what we were watching. You know, it felt like we were all engaged together. And for that 2 hours, like we were all friends watching the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really like respected that. I really like it. I think watching that movie had a bigger impact on me, even though it wasn't that great of a movie, because of the experience of watching it in a theater with a group of people that all loved it. Like all loved the whatever you want to call it, the genre or the art form, whatever, as much as I did, you know?
Yeah. Dude, I think I've told you this before. There's something very special that can happen in a theater. I mean, with any type of like art form like that, where you bring a bunch of people together and they're all experiencing the same thing at the exact same time. And it's this symbiotic collective mindset, you know, where you're all on it together. One of the best times to this day, that one of the best times I've ever had at a movie theater. I was 18 years old, and Toy Story 3 came out. The end of the trilogy, right? It was me, my girlfriend at the time, and like 5 of our friends. It was more than my car could take. But we all piled in my car. Like it was like all the seats were full in my Explorer. And then 3 friends were sitting in the back that didn't have seats in my Explorer. And we all drove 35 minutes out of Denton to the Palladium in High Point. And we got there. It was the midnight release of the movie. We get there and it's packed. And the whole damn theater is nothing but college kids. And I hated going to see movies with college kids because they're so fucking annoying. They're always talking, and we're waiting for the movie to start, and they're all talking through the trailers and everything. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be my fucking nightmare. And when that movie started, every 18-year-old college kid in that theater shut the fuck up. And by the end of it, we were all crying. We were all bawling together. And it was one of the most magical movie-going experiences that I've ever experienced in my life, dude. It was just so, because we all had the same collective childhood of growing up with these films, and then growing up with the characters themselves. When Andy gives away the toys at the end, dude, oh my God. It was so it was magic, dude. That's the only way I can describe it. Like it's magic.
I think there are a lot of people that don't like to go to theaters because they don't like people making noise around them. And when it's, distracting noises and, from people like having side conversations, and sometimes people are really loud eaters and stuff, like that can be a little annoying. But when it comes to watching something, I think like having communal engagement, whether it be like common laughter, gasps, or tears.
It's the human condition. It's the human experience.
That's why we did reactions for a while, is because like sharing those experiences together when you're watching something is just so like, I don't know, it just feels so good. And it feels like it's like this constant state of reassurance that like what you're experiencing. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut this one, since it feels like a good bookend in this conversation. We're going to head and break this episode into 2 parts. So we're going to head and cut this one now and hop on over to the next one, which will be episode 8, part 2, which is going to be about anime. Yes?
Are you asking me?
I guess.
Yeah, you're in charge.
Yeah. Oh, God. Okay, who's steering the ship? Okay, so you guys go do that. We'll see you in that one.
Beautiful. So clean, so crisp.